Hello, everyone. My name is Julie McVeigh, and this is Unordinary Made Ordinary, where we talk about extraordinary experiences of everyday people. And today we are talking with Michelle Skaletsky Boyd. I'm so sorry, Michelle Skaletsky Boyd.
Yes, I hope I'm not boring, but yes, you got it. I'm me.
Skaletsky Boyd.
You got
Yeah, okay. I should have said that 5 times before I started, but just saying it once, it didn't sink in. So
it. No worries. No worries. So
welcome.
thank you. I'm grateful to be here, and I want to just thank you for what you're doing. I think I tuned into a couple of your interviews, and it's pretty fascinating, the different genres of people that you're attracting. So good job.
Oh yeah, I kind of wanted it eclectic like that. I wanted, this to just be an open forum for all sorts of experiences of the supernatural nature, metaphysical. I'm like, bring it in. So so now I get to enjoy a conversation with you. And every single conversation for me is unique and inspiring, and I learn something. I love this. And I hope the listeners are too, of course. And
Yes.
even you and me and even the people I'm interviewing. So if you wouldn't mind, I don't know a whole lot about you.
Mhm.
If you could just share a little bit of your first, just maybe your background and who you are.
Sure. Okay. So I have kind of taken the path of the traditional path for the first several years of my life. I climbed the corporate ladder, worked for Fortune 500 companies, put myself through college early on, and really did what I felt was expected of me. Was raised in a very strict Roman Catholic family. There was a template as far as what you needed to do, where you needed to go to be successful. And well, the whole time I was growing up, on the other side of my family, we had very Native American ways and very talking to nature and earth. And so it was
Oh,
this conflict growing up as a child. And I've always been able to communicate with the afterlife, which I was able to do from the young age of 4. When I was able to bring in my mom's sister, who I didn't even know she had a sister because there's such a big age difference. My mom is one of, at the time, 9 children. My grandma actually gave birth to 11. And so anyway, it became this kind of this path for me in terms of who was I. It really was a path in terms of, was I a business person, and was I an
mhm.
intuitive? Who was I? And so for the longest time, I marketed myself as the corporate woo-woo. I kind of made fun of it, saying that I was both business minded and a little bit out there. And around that same time, I got discovered by a man named Bob Olson, who runs Afterlife TV. And I got placed as one of his top 10 psychic mediums in the nation. And I worked with people who had lost loved ones. And I did that professionally for over 4 years. And then I stepped down because I realized there's a lot of different things that I wanted to explore and learn about beyond the afterlife. And so I began helping people connect with their galactic family and their cosmic family, and
Okay.
took them down different paths, brought in some of my shamanic trainings and my upbringings, and did soul retrieval work. And
Wow.
just, yeah,
Oh my gosh, you've
lots of
done a lot.
lots and lots of things. And so now I am putting myself through school as a medical hypnotherapist, getting trained very heavily in that arena, helping people with any type of health issues understand how they manifest and what can be done to bring themselves back into harmony again. And so I love this field. When I had somebody pull my astrology, she's a dear friend of mine. She said, "You've been doing this for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, which is why it comes so naturally for you."
Oh.
And so it's like any topic, we could probably talk about it for days on end in terms of going deep. And there's really not anything that throws me off too much in terms of conversation. And so
Wow.
wherever you want
Okay.
to go, let's go there.
Huh. It's wide open.
Yeah,
Okay, I want to go back to when you were a little girl, if that's okay. So
of
you
course.
see your mom's sister, who I'm assuming she had passed on. So did you tell your mom?
Yeah, so at that time, I was 4 years old and I was undergoing throat surgery, which I later learned came in from
Oh.
another lifetime.
Oh.
Hard time speaking my truth, right? And
Ooh.
so we come in with different energies sometimes. And anyway, I had throat surgery at the age of 4. And at that time, because I was so little, they didn't want me to wake up and start pulling out all of my oxygen and all of that. And so they had me belted in, arms and legs, and
Mm.
kind of strapped to the bed. And they gave me, I still remember the doctor doing some fun things for me and walking me backwards and telling me, count slowly in your head. And before I knew it, I was gone. And I started drifting away, kind of like we do when we're given laughing gas, right, at the dentist. And then before I know it, I was in this beautiful playroom. And inside the playroom, I met this woman. And she came in and she said, "Would you like me to teach you how to fly?" And I
Ooh.
said, "I would absolutely love to. Who wouldn't, right? They're 4." And so she taught me how to fly, and we had a ball and we had so much fun, and got out of the surgery and couldn't wait to share my experience with my mother. And of course, she's like, "Shh," because my throat and everything was just open
Oh.
for
Oh.
surgery. She doesn't
Right.
want me talking. And so I couldn't express what I wanted to share other than to say, "I know how to fly." And my mom's thinking, "You're all drugged up. Of course you know how to fly." And so a couple weeks later, I was apparently, my mom tells a story, on the end of my bed. And she came in and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm trying to fly. I'm so frustrated, basically. I can't fly. What's going on?" And
Oh no.
she said, "What what happened? Like, tell me what you're talking about, because I don't understand anything that you're describing." And she said, "You had this aunt who came in and visited you. Is that who you're remembering?" And no, that's not. I know who that is. This is a different person. And I began to describe her. I described her little ringlet hair, in my 4-year-old language. And then I said, and she had this chain around her neck with glasses. They hung on this chain, and they were kind of pointy at the end in the frame. And my mom started crying, and she knew immediately. She said, "Well," I said, "She called herself Lori," and none of this was registering until I pointed the glasses, and my mom started crying and said, "That's my sister Lorraine." And so she knew.
Wow.
And after that point, again, it was kind of this
So cool.
this unspoken thing, right? Michelle had this gift, but we don't talk about it, especially in a Catholic upbringing. It's just kind of like,
I think it's a gift that you even remembered this at 4. That's a gift too. I don't have any memories really. Maybe I started to have them at 4 or 5, but very, very little. Maybe this was so impactful, or do you remember a lot from?
it was extremely impactful. It was so impactful that it was my first um, spiritual publication. The story actually got published in a spiritual magazine, and
Wow.
yeah, it was like really profound for me, and the details were intense. And it just, when you have your intuition let you know that you're this strong in one area, but unfortunately you have upbringing, fears, family that are saying, "Don't talk about this," or "How do you know that you're not talking to the devil or Satan?" It becomes
Yeah.
it becomes very confusing as a child. And
Mhm.
so the gifts would come in, but then I would question. They'd come in, and then I would doubt myself, and then I would kind of tumble into fear. And because you are in that place, you're going to, of course, attract some trickster energies as far as spirits, which
Yeah.
then makes things even more intense and more crazy. And so that was kind of my life for the longest time, until I started to recognize what it is. And thankfully, I shared this story with another interviewer at one point. There was a point in time where I thought that I had schizophrenia or multiple personalities, because I had so
Really?
many spirits talking to me at one time. I was in my early 20s, and thankfully I had gone to um, a psychologist who recognized what was happening. Talk about being put on the right path. So
Yeah.
instead of medicating me or helping me, I mean, she called it, she had to label it something. So she's like, "We're going to call this mild dissociative disorder. She's
Okay.
like, but really what I feel is happening is you are able to communicate with the other
That's
side.
very interesting that she was able to tell the difference, and it would be nice to know what that is at some point. I mean, not from you now, but people do struggle with this. I've talked to other people, and yeah, for those trying to figure this out, how
Yeah.
would we know the difference? You
Well,
know?
for me, there was so much evidence, right? Like my mom confirmed for me that yes, that was my aunt. I would have had no way of
True.
knowing that. And so the spirits that were communicating with me, there were so many things that were so accurate. And then
Oh, okay.
obviously, obviously getting selected as one of the best psychic mediums, having worked with people everywhere, they were continuously
Oh,
validating
that was, so you
later
went to
on.
that happened later on. Okay.
Later on. But yeah, I mean, that are there still times where I question? Absolutely.
Sure.
We're human, right? You're like, am I making this
Well,
up?
what kinds of things were they telling you, the spirits? Were these all spirits that had lived before? No ETs, for one. No, just like angels maybe, or something like that, that had never had a human life, or was it just all humans who had lived before?
I can communicate with pretty much every dimension that exists, honestly. So I have learned now to really make sure that you are solid in where you stand, because how you're vibrating and what you're emitting in terms of your frequency has everything to do with what you're going to attract. And so when
Okay.
I was in places
Mm,
of depression and feeling suicidal, you're then going to start attracting some energies that are pretty low in vibration.
gotcha.
And, whether or not those are, trickster energies trying to get you to go ahead and pull the trigger or take the medication or overdose or whatever it
Oh,
is, you absolutely
wow,
can stay in that
that's
energy.
worse than trickster. That's really,
Yeah.
that's horrible.
Yeah.
I
So,
mean,
that being said, when you keep raising your vibration through self-talk and through positivity, and
okay.
you attract some beautiful, wonderful, awesome beings. And so whether it's angels, guardians, spirit guides, or those who have lived on in the afterlife, it really depends on the kind of place that I was in and or the kind of place that my client is in when I'm
Okay.
facilitating.
Does it also, who you attract can relate to your past lives?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Gosh. Okay. So, um, I don't know. I have so many questions as usual. I'm curious about, some of the interesting experiences that either personally you've had with spirits on the other side, or with your clients.
Yep.
Um, and the thing with the Bob Olson thing, if you could just give me a little more information about that.
Sure.
I'm
Okay.
not really familiar with that.
It's okay.
Okay.
So, for a while, to grow my mailing list, I was interviewing experts in the field. So I would take specific
Oh,
topics for a while and really learn a lot about them. So you're talking about eclectic topics. For me, I would do a particular theme each season. So
oh,
one season might be metaphysics, another season might be energy medicine, et cetera, et cetera.
oh,
There was
okay.
one season where I interviewed a former private investigator, and his name is Bob Olson. And he had lost his father at one point in his career and was really upset and was really feeling bad. And one of his friends says, well, why don't you go to a medium, a psychic medium? And he says, I don't believe in them. And they said, well, you of all people, given your profession, would know whether or not they're lying, whether or not they're,
True.
telling the truth. And so he started going from one to another and realized that some are really scams big time. And
Okay.
some are really, really good at what they do. And he said, this just isn't right that so many people are throwing away their money on things that are scam.
Mm, mm.
And so
Tricksters.
yeah, so he created this really big list of best psychic mediums, and he narrowed, I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of psychic mediums in this
Okay.
database now. And then he said, now I want to let people know who are the best of the best, in my opinion. And he formed a top list. And because I had interviewed him, I found myself, without even thinking about what I was saying, as the interview was over, I said to him, hey, if you ever want a free session with me, I'd be more than happy to give you one. And he, without even thinking, said yes. And so we ended up setting something up, and his dad came through, and the experience
Oh,
was so profound and so great that he said, I want to put you right on my top 10 list. And I was,
wow.
for the longest time, working with people side by side, like James Van Praagh. And I got a chance to work with people all around the globe, which is why I was able to become a 3 times best-selling author and really grow my
Wow.
list substantially. So
You look so young. This is throwing me off a little bit. Like, what? You've done so much and been through so much.
so
Wow. Okay, so thank you for giving me more insight into that. Um, Probably a book I should have, huh?
well, they're just, it started out where I, like you, like to be able to write, like, and really be able to learn from the energies of what's coming through. And so I get stuck in certain problems, and then I throw it out to the universe. And then
Mm.
this little story, this short story would come to me, and it would
Oh,
become these really cute little parables. And so I started a
cool.
blog about it, and that blog took off. And then I thought, well, instead of just giving away all my blogs for free, how about I had people sign up for a newsletter, and then I can start collecting the information. And then
Wow.
one thing turned into another. And before I knew it, people were like, maybe you should just put everything in a book. Like, so we have it tangibly and we can look at it rather than waiting for your next story to come out. And so, long story short, my audience supported me, and I was able to create 3 books, and they all became bestsellers. So
Three books.
yeah.
Um, yeah, you're also very like business minded as well. So you know what you're doing. You have like so much
Yeah, I went to college
going
for
on.
media communications, and so marketing, it was natural in terms of what my kind of why I went to school, and doing interviews with people, and that was all part of my background, communication. And so I kind of laugh now because it's like, well, yeah, that's kind of a medium as well, right? Medium is media communications, medium.
Right.
So
Right.
it was like I
My
was
bachelor's is in communication. So,
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So just
Right.
kind of following that same thread a little bit. And
Interesting.
and as I was sharing prior to you hitting the record button, I went through, I didn't get into this with you, but I went through this period where I knew that there was more in my life that I was here to do. So even though I,
Mm.
from astrology, was very good at all these things, I also knew that I was here to learn new things and new experiences. And that was understanding really what it's like to put your family and make your family a priority, what it's like to become a mother. And I had
Mm,
had infertility issues going on
mm.
for many, many years. And my husband and I had tried all different methods. And so at one point, we're like, we're going to adopt. And so I chose to step down from Bob's list so that I could really focus on that and put my
Okay.
energy into becoming a mom. And now I am. We were able to adopt a little girl. And during that time, right before we adopted her, I had known that I needed to also, before she came into my life, I needed to birth my novel. And my novel is what you and I started talking about, which has to do with when we are born, if we're born into energies that are dysfunctional and
Okay.
chaotic, and cause us to stay trapped in what some people would view as negative or dysfunctional or codependent, etc. If we're in those kinds of energies and we're born into them, how do we get out of them once we become aware that we're in them? And so it took me over 10 years to write this novel book. Right before my daughter came into my life, I did release it. And now more than ever, I feel like I need to promote it, because when she came into my life, I was like, I don't need to promote the book. It's out there, and it will take time to build. And now I have counselors and psychotherapists and things who are giving it to their clients because
Wow.
they're recognizing
What is it?
there is
What's the
something here.
name of the book? This is your first one. I'm going to want all the names of, the names of all of them. And of course, I'm going to put all this up in the description.
Okay, so
But,
this is the one I'm talking about right now. It's called Silas's Motorcycle Miracle.
oh,
So I'm a clinically certified hypnotherapist, and I know the power of speaking to the subconscious mind in storytelling. And so I knew that in order for me to help people help themselves, I was going to have to bypass their critical thinker who's already beating them up for the self-sabotage that they keep creating in their life. And so instead of creating a self-help book where they would have to literally start thinking about it and then label themselves as a certain individual, I thought, let's just do this in a way that's fun. And so I created a fictional book that goes into the characters that can occur when we get stuck in dysfunctional relationships.
Oh.
So when I graduated from college, I would continuously meet people on my path that were in high stress, high dysfunction, high drama. And I'm not talking about drama as in play, art. I'm talking about I'm talking about the high intense emotions that don't seem to disappear. And I recognized that if I was in a place of calm for just a moment, I was addicted to the drama. It was like I had to stir something up because that calm and that stillness and that peace wasn't natural for me. And my body, my nervous system, it didn't know what to do with it. And so it would repeatedly go back to what it knew. And it took a long time for me to even recognize that I was co-creating my own reality by keeping this in play. And then I had to learn, why do we do this to ourselves? Why, first of all, do we, and this is my truth, go with, everybody obviously go with your truth, but my truth is we pick our parents.
I was going to ask you. So
we choose them. So they're teaching us certain lessons. And so why did I choose the parents that I did? Why did I choose a dad who overdrinks, a mom who's got mental problems? Why did I choose those things in my life? And why did I choose parents who got married at 17 and 18 years old, financial problems, fighting, lots and lots of drama? So when I became an adult and I started recognizing that I was recreating this in my own marriage, I was causing a lot of these same dysfunctions and problems, I recognized that this was not only my path to learn everything that I could about this, but to also see it as a gift. Once you recognize that you're in it and you see that it's been put on your path to help you transform into the person you're intended to be, life changes forever. Because all chaos, if you look at the chaos theory, the theory of chaos, it's to overturn everything so that something new can be built and be born. And so if you're born into dysfunction, chaos, drama, all of that, and you see it as the gift that it is, that it's helping you become whole and complete, life can be absolutely easy once you get why it's there.
I have what I think is a hard question for you, because I'm adopted,
Okay.
and of course your little girl is adopted, but you're saying she picked her parents. So did she pick her birth parents and also her adopted parents?
Yeah. So this is, I love this. This is fascinating. So we adopted my daughter when she was a toddler. And she was old enough at this point to speak. And so she recognized me immediately. And she said, "I know you." And so we got to talking, and she knew me from another lifetime. And she knew her dad from another lifetime. And she was able to piece together and put things together in the same way I did for my mom when I described her sister. There would have been no way that my daughter would have known these things. And so absolutely believe, and there's the proof again, I believe without a doubt that even those who are adopted choose their parents. Yes.
Okay. So I'm just like, in my situation, I was an infant. So I'm thinking maybe we have helpers and guides that are trying to, I'm picturing myself as an infant, but I'm connected with these two adopted parents. Somehow they are the ones that end up adopting me. If I picked them, then I'm just thinking of how it could all work in the non-physical, how they're helping to make these things happen. Just curious.
Yeah, of course. And if you look at how absolutely wonderful it is that you have birth parents who bring certain things to the table in terms of you could or could not turn on these genes, right? Dr. Bruce Lipton, right? You might turn on these genes or you might not in terms of science. You have birth parents who are giving you these chromosomes, who are giving you this ability to choose what it is that you want to turn on in terms of your genes. And then you have your adopted family who are coming in and they're teaching you things like behavior. They're teaching you how to communicate with the world. And again, those dramas, those dysfunctions that I described, bringing possibly those into your world. And if they are, then why is that formula and kind of like a recipe? Why did you choose that? Again, my truth. Of all different lifetimes that you could choose, why are you choosing that specific formula? And once you see it, and usually a good astrologist can help you see it. Once you see it and it's played out and you understand, oh my goodness, that totally makes sense. You have somebody who can overlay your astrology chart with your parents' astrology charts and see where you came in and how they have their shadows and their gifts and how they help with yours. It's amazing. For example, my daughter, when she came in, so my husband and I are completely opposite in terms of astrology, and that's why they say opposites attract. That's generally how it works. She came in and she's right in the middle of both of us, and she's helping us balance each other even more than we would have been just the two of us. So it's kind of fascinating.
Wow. Is it okay to get the name of the astrologist that you would recommend?
Yeah.
I
So
don't know. I don't want you to, you don't have to say anything that you don't feel comfortable
no,
sharing.
yeah, no problem. We have a lot of different, there's a lot of different astrologists that can work. And if you seriously want an astrology name, I will pass that along with a link to her business, the person that I highly recommend. So there's a lot of different ways to interpret the stars. And as I understand it, there is the old astrology, there's the new astrology, there's shamanic astrology.
Yeah.
And so somebody who gets all these different pieces and can actually overlay one on top of the other and see it, not just from one perspective, but from various perspectives, that does take a unique individual. And I happen to have someone really special in my life who can do that.
Oh, great. Okay. So I'll get that information. And so can you just share with me, did you take classes? Like what kind of class for mediumship or for psychic abilities? I mean, for hypnotherapy, you probably did.
Yes, for hypnotherapy, I did. So the other stuff, no.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I would go to classes, and when I did, this seems really pompous, but anybody who understands, they'll get it. I'd go to classes and I'd end up teaching more than the teacher was
Okay.
teaching. And so it was kind of like, this just isn't working for me. So I knew that that wasn't the path for myself to go down. It did help validate and affirm that I was, obviously on the right path. But for hypnosis, it was really interesting. As soon as I left the corporate world, I chose to start working on my novel. And then I also decided to dive into the subconscious a little more, just because I was learning about how to write my book to the subconscious and I wanted to understand the brain. And I justified it and said, well, I'll be able to help people who are needing anesthesia and they're allergic to anesthesia and they need a procedure done. So I was working with doctors and dentists and things.
Oh.
And what was interesting is that while I was working with clients, they were there for typical things like losing weight or stopping smoking and all of that. And while I was assisting them, their loved ones would come through because now they're in
My gosh.
they're in this really
Funny.
deep state, right? They're like in theta and they're so open. It's like the dream state just before waking or just before falling asleep. You're just like in this beautiful receptive state. And so their loved ones are there and they're like, talk to them. And I'm going, that's not why they're here, and of course I'm getting people that are, because I was a college adjunct at the time, and I'm getting like people from the college who are coming in, and I'm getting girls from the community, and I'm like, I can't do this. Well, there was one lady who she had a very engineer mindset, and so we had to work together a long time, and I was learning and she was learning before she trusted herself. And there was a point where her grandmother kept coming through, and I kept saying no to the grandma. And finally, the grandma's just like, "You're gonna tell her." And I said, "I'm really scared to tell you this, but your grandma's behind you, and this is what she's saying." And the lady was like crying and really, really like open to it. And she said, "Why aren't you doing this? This is your gift. You should be doing this." And so she kind of like encouraged me to stop caring so much about what other people thought of me, and to not worry so much about being judged. And that was my big pivotal moment of just do what you're good at doing and stop worrying about being like thrown into hell or whatever the fear is.
Yeah.
So
So you do both? Did you see people for hypnotherapy and for mediumship
yes.
reasons? Okay.
Yeah.
So you do a little of both. And I was going to ask also, do some people go to you for hypnotherapy to help them become more skilled at astral projecting?
That is not an area that I know anything about.
Oh,
That would be an
okay.
area, I guess earlier I said that you could ask me anything, and you're asking, yeah, like I can astral project in terms of being able to see myself in certain situations. Like I remember when I was probably 3 or 4, I had a gobstopper stuck in my throat,
Oh.
and my dad had to pick me up by, my feet,
Mhm.
and he just kept hitting me and hitting me. Well, I'd left my body because that experience was so bad. And I remember I was on the other side of the room
Yeah,
watching this happen, right?
right.
So I know I can do it.
Oh,
Or
sure.
when I was a child, I was sexually abused. And so I disassociate from my body and kind of watch
Oh,
the
yeah.
experience because it was easier. But to teach someone else how to do it, I've not gone into that arena.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, my view is that everyone um, does it every night when they sleep, and
Yep.
anyone can do it and learn how to do it. I was just curious if hypnotherapy, can help people be better at it,
I
maybe.
would
I don't know.
I would imagine that your highest intelligence resides in that subconscious well, in that everybody uses different words, whether it's unconscious or subconscious or super conscious or whatever, right? But it lives in that arena in terms of your deepest wisdom, your highest truth. So I would imagine absolutely people are going to be able to access their answers from that place.
Have you learned much about the afterlife, what people experience over there? And is it your opinion that we must come back here, or we must reincarnate at least somewhere in the universe?
Yeah, those are all good questions. And I know I've met a lot of people on my path who have children who have died, and now their children are like channeling through them and giving these messages, or people who have had spouses and those spouses are giving them messages that they're passing on to others. My personal experience with the clients that I've worked with is that there's parallel realities that are all happening simultaneously at the same time. And so whether we choose to quote unquote reincarnate into this world again, or whether or not we choose to go and experience a planet or be an angel or be a bird, it's all happening simultaneously anyway. I don't believe
Oh,
so much
okay.
in terms of time space. I believe that's just an illusion personally. And so
Hmm.
to kind of call it out as one lifetime to another, it gets a little convoluted.
So would you say those who can astral project or go into a deep meditation, they can tap into one of those parallel lives? And
In the same way, yeah, in the same way you can tap into your Akashic records or anything else. Absolutely. Yes.
um, but what would you say about the after? Some people say so the afterlife is in between life living.
Okay.
And some people say that you you may or may not incarnate after this life. You could hang out there pretty much indefinitely. Do you
Mhm.
have any info from have you met your guides, did you
Oh
say?
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But then again, I mean, if you want to keep going deep, it's like, who are your guides, right? If we're all one and
Oh,
we're all
right. You were
God and we're
saying,
all right, it's just different aspects of yourself, some in humanly form and some not, which goes
oh,
back to your
okay.
question of, are we choosing to reincarnate here on earth, or are we choosing to have this experience of not taking a body anymore and assisting. It's all you. So I
Okay.
know I'm talking in circles a little bit, but it depends on what kind of experience you're here to have.
So wait. So now I'm thinking, so are you saying all of our guides, all of your guides are you in another parallel
Yeah,
experience?
in the same way that you're me and I'm you, right? I mean, Neil Donald Walsh talks about this. He comes out and he says, I'm God and so are you, right? We're all God, like having individual experiences, and we're all
Right. I mean, I get
right.
that, but then, yeah, it's
So
kind of hard to, it's hard.
remove the physical now and do that same thing with the spirit guides who are here to assist you. They're just
Right.
different aspects and versions of yourself. So in psychology, they do parts therapy in terms of, there's different parts of you that have disassociated because of hard times or trauma in your life. Well, if you can look at that same thing in terms of your spirit guides, they're kind of like disassociated from you, but at some point, you'll all integrate once again.
And you were also saying how we, when we're brought into this life, we can bring traumas back from, or
Again,
take traumas with us from
yeah,
other lives.
this is again just based on my experience, right? And and I want to add that as kind of a little asterisk, because not everybody has these same kinds of experiences depending on what you are here to perceive and what you're here to learn.
Okay.
Like people that I forget his name, but the one who wrote, I think Newton was his last name, Life Between Lives. He had a bunch of clients that he would continuously see who remembered that space of in between,
Right.
actually being living and dead. They would go to the council and they would choose their parents, and then
Right.
And so to answer your question, the way that I'm perceiving the world and the clients who are coming into me and who I'm seeing, they absolutely 100% are bringing traumas in from another lifetime, and they're here to assist themselves with that, to remember it. And once it's remembered, they can integrate it, assimilate it, and become whole again.
And bringing skills too.
Absolutely. Yes. As long as they have this aha moment and they remember, like, oh my gosh, I mean,
Like
when
a natural born scientist or
yeah,
singer or
yeah,
artist.
absolutely. And when I went and reclaimed my galactic self, my celestial being, my inner, call it what you will, went to another planet and reclaimed who I was, I
Okay.
automatically had a lot more gifts that I didn't even know I had
Oh,
after that.
so you're saying not just that we're born with, but we can learn how to integrate those
Yeah.
now and even have an,
Yes, you can go and grab your future self and integrate it with now. Yes.
well, so galactic self. So does that does that mean like star seed? I've heard
Similar.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Starseed, to me, again, everybody has different terms, but to me, starseed means that once you left source and you chose to have an experience beyond source, where did you first seed yourself?
Oh, that would be the first place.
In my opinion, yes.
Okay, so any place other than Earth would be a starseed place.
Yes.
Okay, but some people will leave source and come directly here.
So my husband, he knows that he's been of earth and only of earth, and that's where he was.
Really?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
His experiences have all been on earth, and
Wow.
when I tap into his energies, I absolutely see that. It's just like
Really?
yeah, that's, so he would be somebody who's been star seeded on earth, who's reincarnated again and again and again, and is here for earth.
Oh, you still call it star seeded, but you say star seeded on Earth.
Right.
And gee, that seems I have an opinion about that.
Yeah,
Like
well,
I would not want to keep coming back here, but I just find this Earth like super heavy, dark,
well,
dense.
if you look at how many times Earth has actually rotated and churned over, right? You can go all the way back, and prior to it being called Earth, it was called Terra, and it's got all
Right, right.
names, right? So he recalls himself being on this particular planet.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. That's kind of cool. So how many, so I know we're getting, I know I'm probably running out of time here, but how many incarnations do we generally have? Is there a number, or is it just can be infinite?
I believe I believe it's infinite. And I really believe that it has to do with, so I say to people who come to me and they are not at all into any of this, they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Words are, Einstein proved that everything is energy. And so if you can look at the possibility that when you came in, you came in with some kind of recycled energy.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
If you can just stay with that and just sit with that concept, then you'll recognize and know that that in itself allows you to be infinite in terms of how many past lives you might have had.
Right, that's true. I mean, but it sounds like there could be a new energy at any point from coming from source,
Yes.
seeding into star seeding
Yeah, I mean,
into.
that goes into a bunch of different topics, right? There's
Yeah.
people that are talking about being walk-ins and everything else. It's like we could go on about this for days.
Ah, so much to talk about in so little time. But I don't want to close without hearing more about your other books. You have 2 more books, and then
Yeah,
also
so
how listeners can connect with you and contact you.
awesome. Well, the 3 books that became bestsellers, they are called, they're basically my soul felt words books. And it's just heaven sent life lessons and conversations with God. And they were all my blogs that just got put into short story form with multiple short stories, all within one book until the book got too fat. And then I did another one and then another one. So
Oh,
yeah, so
okay.
that's,
Wow.
it's a series and there's 3 of those. And then we talked about my novel already. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, I want to get all of your information so people can, I mean, can you do the hypnotherapy through Zoom?
yeah,
And
working on Bob's list was really awesome because I attracted clients all around the globe, and a
yeah,
lot of what I do and the people that I work with, it easily can be done remotely. Generally, when I do work with somebody, I work with them only on the telephone. So we're meeting via
really?
teleconference.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a lot of, you kind of put your headphones in and you listen and you get guided. I'm very empathic. And so I can feel people's energy, even if we're not in the same room. And obviously spirit, they can float back and forth. And so I can pick up on
True.
energies of the afterlife. And the only time that I really bring video into the mix is if there's issues going on with a person, they're stuck in a phobia, or they're stuck in some type of traumatic event and they keep replaying it again and again in their head in the form of like PTSD, or if they have found their child and the child like hung themselves or something like that and they can't get it out of their head. I'll work with them to really watch their facial movements, their eye movements, to know where they're
Right.
stuck in trauma so that I can help shift that.
Yeah. Do you, I find it really amazing that you can do this like over the phone. Well, even on Zoom, I would think that if you're together, that might be a stronger connection. But I mean, I know, of course, obviously spirit is, there's no, there's
Yeah,
space time is not a difficulty.
yeah.
um, do you turn it on and close it off? Like, if like with the voices or the spirits, are you able to like shut down?
Yeah. I always say like, there's TV shows, right, where they have mediums and the mediums go to like everybody on the street and, oh, your loved one's here. Could I do that? Yes. Other times when I'm going through the grocery store and I can feel that somebody has lost a spouse or a child and they're at their register and they're checking me out and I can feel their loved ones, like give them a message.
Wow.
I don't do it. I just say,
Oh,
this is not appropriate. There's a whole line of people,
wow.
I've
Yeah.
considered giving them my card and I'm just like, if they're meant to be on my path, they will. But
Mm.
the people on the other side, they absolutely know when you can feel them, sense them, are aware of them. And so they're like, trying to get your attention. And I learned to put boundaries up a long time ago, that these are my office hours. Contact me
Don't
during.
knock until until the open sign is
Yeah,
turned.
but there's some people, that they're okay with it every single day, every single hour. It's just, as again, I'm here to learn about family and priorities and motherhood as well. And so I made it a point to have office hours.
Yeah, very good. I'm glad you are keeping those boundaries.
Yeah,
Sounds like your brain could be very busy.
yeah.
Well, before we sign off, is there anything else at all on your heart? What did I miss? I'm sure I missed a ton.
No,
Um,
it's
it's been a great conversation, but if there's anything else that you're being prompted to share, I don't want to
no,
have you not share that.
I love I just love what you're creating, and I love how you have not only allowed everybody to use their own form of showing up in this world, how they want to show up. It's like you've created a collage of art, a poetry, your own poetry in your own way, by interviewing everyone the way that you have, and really allowing people to show up in their essence and who they are. So I laugh because in the beginning, when you were, first introducing me and said Michelle Sklutsky board, I was like, oh, this is gonna be interesting, right? But it's been nothing but interesting. It hasn't, nothing's been boring about it at all.
Oh no.
And
Yeah.
when I first created my novel, I was too afraid of putting myself fully out there. And so the initial proofs of my novel, I didn't even put my last name. It was just Michelle Lee. So you would ask me, do you go by Michelle Lee or Michelle? So I just put Michelle Lee on my book and
Okay.
left the Sklutsky Boyd off of it, because I didn't want anybody who had already bought my 3 bestsellers to buy it just because of who I was, right?
Mm,
So I love that names and words and everything else, they're just labels. And when we remove that, we're still who we are.
mm, very good.
Mhm.
I love it. Gosh, I love your energy.
Thank
You
you.
really do. This has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much,
You're very
Michelle.
welcome. You're very welcome.
So I guess it's time we have to sign off. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. This has been Julie McVeigh with Unordinary Made Ordinary, and I really hope you join us next time for another fascinating interview. If you did enjoy this interview, please give it a thumbs up, hit the like, the heart, whatever it is. And of course, subscribe if you like this type of content, and then hit the bell icon for YouTube so you're alerted to future videos. And I really hope you're having a fantastic day or evening, wherever you are on the planet or off the planet. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.